What's up, my comic book brothers and my comic book sisters from another mister? Today we're going to talk about why Gunslinger Spawn, She Spawn, Medieval Spawn, Spawn, and all these other spawns are teaming up for a villain that no single Hell Spawn can defeat alone. And this is going through Scorched issues number 7 through 12. Timestamps will be in description if you wish to go from issue to issue. Also, link in description if you wish to purchase any of the comic books in this review. Support the art, support the industry. And by the way, at some point in the video, you will see for yourself these Hell Spawns are dangerously outmatched and defeated. But with all that being said, let's get into the content. Just a quick reminder of what's going on before we get into this issue. While Hunt is searching for a cure to the poison racing through his body, the vampire lord, known as Blood, offers up a solution, a location. Meanwhile, the Scorched team deal with the aftermath of their battle with the Sin Devourer. So their new goal, or their goal now, is to keep hunting the Sin Devourers so they might soon find their secret financier known as K. In her quest to form this team, a small army of those willing to stand at evil's doorstep, She Spawn had made each one of them a promise. You help me get what I want, and I'll make sure you get what matters most to you. So for Gunslinger Spawn, it's to get back to his own timeline. For Medieval, he wants to find those who experiments on his body, and Redeemer needs to find Reaper. Yet one question still remains. Why is She Spawn doing all this, asked Reaper? So after Redeemer's question, we get to see that Natasha lays on the table as her skin's bubbling from the poison of Plague Spawn. But Reaper is stuck on the prophecy Redeemer has seen. Who will betray the Scorched? And he believes it's not going to be Jessica. And Redeemer's like, why do you think Jessica is not going to betray? I mean, she left me in Japan. I'm sure she had her reasons, but don't worry, it ain't going to be her. I mean, it's a dozen strategies of military, not I would say otherwise, but she had her reasons for leaving you. I don't think she's going to be the Judas or the betrayer of the Scorched. Though Natasha, laying on the table, needs their attention because she won't survive much longer. Given the amount of poison that's coursing through her veins, she needs their help. Her mind's fighting and panicking with all this poison and clave going on. It's not really a panic, it's more like an exorcism. An exorcism of what? Like a disease manifesting itself. Plague's poison has been replicating inside Natasha's, breeding itself back into existence. And she's screaming out help, and Plague Spawn's going out for the attack, or whatever it manifested to, and they try to contain it. Contain it? That's not how Plague Spawn works. You don't contain it, you have to destroy it. And from what it appears right here, Plague looks to appear to impale Redeemer. Meanwhile, at an unmarked compound near Empty Sands, New Mexico, they're outside the base. Gunslinger and Mark are outside, and Gunslinger's like, I can't see her no more. Good, that means she's made it inside. You ready to give her cover? Gunslinger's like, okay, tell me one. So Mark does tell Gunslinger when, and Gunslinger hits his target, taking out a main electrical transformer. So what else I gotta shoot to put him in the dark, says Gunslinger. Inside Gunslinger's shop now has their building on power reserve. You know, the second generator is also down, so now they're losing power. By the time they realize they're losing power and it goes dark, or it's about to go dark, they see her and it's too late, and She Spawn goes to work, wrapping her hair around one soldier like an anaconda and causes him one of their life. And she asks him, I'm looking for the one called K. Where is he? And one of the soldiers said, well, if you're killing my boy over here, I ain't gonna die on that account. He's down the hall. Gunslinger, use the northwest entrance. It'll be clear. Understand, says She Spawn. And Gunslinger's like, okay, on my way now. You gonna be there too? Though still new to modern tech, Gunslinger, because he came from the 1800s, he does understand how ambush works. And She Spawn says, no, but I'm sending you help. He should have been there by now. And Gunslinger senses another. And he turns around, he's like, whoa, whoa, don't sneak up on me. And Hunt's like, whoa, big guy, She Spawn said you're a bit skittish. She sent you? Yeah, she did. After I told her how to find this facility, she said you guys could use some backup. Jessica Priest tells Javier, yeah, he's telling the truth. Don't worry about it. The truth that Hunt and his brother Kurt extracted from Blood, lure the vampires from the previous issue. During his abduction, files were found detailing covert sites under the control of this mysterious individual, K. Now they all need to fulfill their part of this plan. And She Spawn and Kurt go in. As they go in and they pass through the wall, she uses a stolen access card and the soldiers sneak up from behind her. I wouldn't do that if I were you. She turns around and judges their formation. The hallway shape is forcing them to clump together. And because she's low on ammo, it makes it easy for her to just to do one shot and take out all three of them. While Kurt attacks in his own way, triggering a massive heart attack by going inside and just squeezing his heart. But the alarm goes off and she asks Mark to disable it. He is on it. She Spawn and Kurt push forward. What the hell is all this, she asks. It's a manufacturing plant devoted to Sin Devourers, controlled by Bill billionaires who use their massive wealth to work outside the laws, boundaries, or rules of any government. K, whoever that is, operates in his own shadow world with enough influence to gather information and resources needed to be able to stalk hellspawns and angels while refining his war machine so that he may cleanse the earth of both. And Kurt's like, do we destroy him? Not yet. Back at our fortress, Mark got into the brain of one of these. They're being fed in real-time information of each of us, the entire Scorched team, and dozens of others. It's analyzing, discovering who we are, who we love, and what makes us vulnerable. Taking information and cross-referencing that data by downloading every possible checkpoint. They'll try to slaughter us or the world we live in and the world we love. And when it gets its matches, suddenly, stunned, Jessica is confronted by the reality that they've been able to analyze and construct her entire lifespan, from her troubled childhood to military boot camp with unwanted attention and the way she dealt with it. She also sees images of freshly minted assassinations that she'd become. One of them is of Simmons, and the other, Nick's, her dearest friend. But the image that makes her shudder is the one of her daughter, and she is appalled. And she's like, oh, hell no. Mark loses contact with her, but Mark is not left to do anything, probably because he's waiting on Jessica's orders. So they're like, wait, what's her order? We're here at the northeast corner, right? And it doesn't make much sense to him. So all of a sudden, with her whole history exposed, Jessica needs to download everything in her file, then erase the mainframe if possible. Kurt's like, we don't have time for this, Jessica. What are you doing? I need to destroy all this intel they're gathering. It'll destroy all of us. But then let's burn this place down and wipe everything out. I mean, right now, right? I mean, let's do that. But unfortunately, and Kurt does have a point, but unfortunately, Jessica messed with the data feed going to each Sin Devourer, setting off an eternal security feed instead. They're coming to life. I erased what I need to know. Let's go. And they go on the attack. Intrusion Devourer has witnessed the she spawns and all the spawns, and his order is to terminate. Kurt's astral body isn't in serious danger as debris will pass through it. She spawn is not going to be as fortunate. Mark, mission accomplished. Bogey's on our tail. You have visuals soon? Then get ready to teleport. And Mark gets the orders, and Hunt's like, I'll take out the legs, and Gunslinger's like, I'll make sure they can't see. I'm opening now, Mark, says Jessica, the portal. Get in there. Hunt and Gunslinger do their part, but she spawn still needs a few more seconds to be able to make her portal functional for everyone. Her team gives her that. Sin Devourer goes down for the count, and this is playing out very epically. For the moment, the group is safe, but Jessica now wonders about some others, those she hasn't heard back from in too long of a time, Redeemer and Reaper, and she sees what happens to them based on the accounts of Plague Spawn. She put this team together, hoping their numbers would protect one another. Tonight, that's failed. Now, everything's at risk as Plague Spawn takes Natasha, and he is on his way out, looking at him like, what you gonna do about it? And that's where we end this issue. I'm gonna keep my review on this one very nice, short and sweet. I absolutely dug it. This was a definite way to kick off a new story arc, and I'm in on it. I mean, to me, this is probably one of the better series of Scorched issue number 7, if not the best in my personal opinion. Link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. With all that being said, before we get into this issue, I'm just going to summarize the previous issue. Jessica and Hunt's brother, Kurt, have infiltrated a base operated by the mysterious K. While inside, Jessica discovers info that puts the whole team in jeopardy. So we go into this panel with Soul Crusher in this dark void. You know, while She Spawn and her group piece together the actions of the unpredictable symbiote called Plague, a young Ukraine soldier, Soul Crusher, has been abandoned by Spawn into the dark recesses of Limbo. But for what purpose, though? So he knows Simmons can clearly connect to other worlds, so why won't Simmons open up the dead zones? Your kind will survive no matter what, says Soul Crusher. Why are you treating me like this? I told you I help. Something then catches Soul Crusher's attention. A small light, followed by the sound of voices growing louder. And they come from Ghost, and it's Natasha, Gunslinger, Spawn, all talk about they have to find Natasha because Soul Crusher was hunting him. And they're betting that the girl was just bait. That's all she was. Now it's going to cost her her life. Soul Crusher's not liking how this is played out. They spent their childhood together, brainwashed by the original Soul Crusher, finally escaping the orphanage that imprisoned him. In Russia, they had to make another escape from the soldiers that chased him. He promised her freedom, freeing her from all their suffering. And Spawn emerges. You thought that would be easy, Sergi? And he's like, no, I knew who my enemies were and who I could be trusted. But Spawn's like, nah, bro, then you're more naive than I thought. You're owed nothing. This is war. You make mistakes, it'll cost you every time, and you'll put people you love in danger. You want to destroy your enemies? Stop making others like Natasha easy targets. He shoots at Spawn, and it ain't doing nothing to him. You burnt your father alive, said Spawn. What do you think would happen next? He wasn't my father, said Sergi. Well, his money, his power, people like him always have others that'll pick up right after him. So you didn't do anything. Spawn shoved Sergi under the black waters of the Limbo's abyss. You want to breathe the air of real soldiers? Act like one. I can't afford imposters, says Spawn. You want to join us? Stop doubting, stop questioning, and just follow orders. It's time to learn if you'll ever be a real soldier. So he's like, what is this? Is this a test? The Hellspawn has left. And you know what? The boy's lost. Who's there? As he's just stuck in this darkness of limbo, Spawn just looking at him. Meanwhile, deep in the Carpathian Mountains between Russia and Ukraine, a transformation of flesh and spirit is already far underway with Natasha. The poison coursing through her veins by a byproduct of Plague's quills stabbing her body 1,000 times. Now that she's been stabbed and morphed, I don't know if she's fully merged or bonded with the symbiote, Plague is hungry. Plague needed a host, someone to meld with, and energy to feed off of. When it completes its transformation, Plague has a being that it can communicate with. I can take your sickness. You know, the phrase. So after the transformation completes, I'm not sure if it's fully bonded with the symbiote yet. Plague is like, I can take your sickness. I can make you whole again. That phrase, whole again, it's the secret to every Hellspawn, as all of them are missing a piece of a fragment of their soul, lost during their journey into hell. Plague intends to find that hole. Natasha lost her lover to this war, becoming collateral damage when he attempted to steal Plague from Colonel Khrushchev. And that's going back to issue number 1 and 2. Her friend Odessa died too. Plague wants to evolve Natasha, wants to improve her. And like every Hellspawn before that evolution comes with the insatiable need, the hunger for revenge. Below, the war of motor barrels across the desert floor. Now we go back into this panel where she, Spawn, Haunt, and Gunslinger are riding along the way on a search and rescue mission for Natasha. Back in the lab though, or whatnot, Redeemer and Reapers are obviously, impaled and hurt. And these teammates took severe damage in the previous issue. Reaper calls out for She-Spawn. What? No, don't worry about She-Spawn, says one of them. No, Redeemer's talking. That's not what he wants. What he's saying is, we cannot trust She-Spawn. That's his tone right there. So is She-Spawn possibly the Judas that they were talking about? So back on the ride with She-Spawn and Kurt, or Haunt, we have to find Soul Crusher, save ourselves. That's what Sin Devourer says Kurt to Haunt. Whether that's true, time will tell. But for now, fighting and poisoning himself, that's what he wants to cure, is his own poison. He'll determine if that truth is true or if it's BS or whatnot. Meanwhile, this spiked up Plague symbiote attacks her tires, and they won't be granted that time because now it's time to get down with the get down. And Kurt was right. Natasha is crucial to their survival, unfortunately. But whether she's the Judas or not, that is to be determined. A cunning, cruel animal who laid in wait, knowing the Scorch would move in packs. Leave her alone, says Natasha, or I'll wipe you, I swear. A sound like a nail dragging across a chalkboard builds in intensity, becoming what can only be identified as laughter as Natasha in She-Spawn Plague form. I don't know why I said She-Spawn Plague form. It just sounds cool, but it's actually Plague Spawn form. He murders and looks at her like in the menacing, imposing manner. Team, says She-Spawn. It hasn't bonded yet. She-Spawn knows if Plague Bond does bond to Natasha, they'll lose Natasha. So how do you kill a creature but not the girl? Their only hope is to strip off the symbiote before it rends them all apart. And each second it fights them, it's more of a chance they're gonna lose their lives to this battle right here. So they have to act fast. And Plague Spawn has the upper hand on this battle, as we can see. Haunt is like, keep it occupied. I have an idea. Haunt's endgame is simple. Get near the symbiote, then start acting exactly like a Plague himself. He grows claws, spikes, wants to shred the monster to its core. After that, he intends to grab Natasha and find where they've hidden Soul Crusher. You cocky bitch, he says, hoping the kid might know a cure for what's killing Haunt with each passing heartbeat. There's a fine line between being cocky and being confident, right? Right now, Plague is displaying both. Haunt passes through Hell's rejected symbiote like the beast skin in translucent water. If Malboja had known what this monster would be capable of, Hell's lore would have never discarded into the flames of Hades like a piece of disposable trash. Damn, I thought this Plague Spawn was more like Plague Spawn, but not elemental, where you could just transport Haunt into a portal though, you know? Though, perhaps it was best he did, because this Hellspawn symbiote would have killed its lord, because Al before Al Simmons ever did. And that's true, Al Simmons did kill Moboja by decapitating his head. So no, it's operating more like a virus spreading and replicating wherever it can. Hunt thought it was more feral, but it's acting like an elemental. Is it trying to affect us, says Hunt. Yes, it is. And if it's to be stopped, it has to be stopped now. So Gunslinger unloads some necroplasmic, necro-dip bullets that have some effect. And it's not going to put it down for the count permanently, but whatever the science of it behind it may be, Gunslinger knows when its necro bullets come into contact with this black necro being that the combo appears to be quite painful. Painful enough to bring it momentarily down to its knees. It's not dead, it's just getting a second wind. But Gunslinger's like, yeah, but it's still feeding on that girl, so I've got to get that skin off her now by flaying this son of a bitch. So Hunt's like, whoa, chill, like, where's your chill at, bro? Like, you crazy? You can't cut the skin off, you killed the girl, won't you? Suddenly, behind him, a loud crashes. Deafens everything. Everyone get ready as these, looks like these sentinels, come up from behind like the Hellspawn tentacles, and Doomsday Squad has arrived. The Sin Devourers, recently awoken by She-Spawn, who now all know is Jessica Priest, and they know her weakness, you know, they know what drives her, they know who is close to her. So unless the Scorch find the way to somehow destroy every last one of these metallic giants, even a single one of them will continue bringing Jessica's past to light, making sure she'll never have another peaceful sleep for the rest of her life. And that's where we end this issue. Gangster, love the Scorch. That's all I got to say. Link in the description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. I thought it was a gangster read. It's fun. I mean, I don't know. I can't say enough of it about no more. I just love a Hellspawn team up, and I love how Spawn is taking the back seat and letting She-Spawn, Jessica Priest, take the front row seat of all this too. I love letting characters shine like that. With all that being said, we begin this issue with Mark holding the medieval helmet. He knows he's holding history in his hands. He knows whoever wore in the past has been warring against evil for centuries. It's the past he's seen repeating itself once again. He sees glimpses of She-Spawn, Hunt, and Gunslinger Spawn fighting the Sin Devourers, Goodman turning corrupt, with Spawn becoming King Spawn when he takes on the Hell Throne, and all visions he has seen before. Now he goes back to this vision of Vatican City. The year was 1347 when the Black Plague tore through countless countrysides. Fear runs rampant. Some hide indoors while others set fires to ward off rats and ghosts, and the barbarism was at an all-time high. This guard says nothing. His mission was to pull the boy from the piles of the disease and prepare him for his future, because children are forced into jobs that none should have to endure, because this empire needs more warriors to combat an enemy much worse than a sickness. They're dying because of monsters on the loose, a creature with no more compass, but instead driven through instincts and the bloodlust of doom. Those that are succumbed are treated like soiled sheets, tossed into piles of dragged off to unmarked graves and burning, hoping that fire will cleanse them forever. And this kid is looking at him like, yo, that's my brother, as he's being taken away from this guard, because the plague is coming from them after all, and it's not going to be in the form of a cough. So we see this Pope, or this guy who's entrusted by the Pope, to do this sacrament on this kid. He puts him through this experiment. As he pours his sacrament, the sacrament is acid onto the kid, the flesh from the boy's forehead and the cheeks seeping down into his diseased cells for a new plague spawn to feed on. The boy dies slowly. He sees how he'll be resurrected to fight, to battle an enemy that'll consume everything it can, the Black Plague Spawn. So this is how the Black Plague Spawn was formed? Yo, this is pretty sick, but it's sad this kid had to endure such torture. But in the present day, the helmet has captured Mark's body once again. Orders from She-Spawn are to sit and wait. The Hell Knight doesn't care. Redeemer's like, yo, where are you going? I have an old matter to attend to, says Medieval Spawn, which is Mark inside of Medieval Spawn. Don't follow. Plague is my fight. We have known each other as long as you have known Reaper. And those words shake Redeemer, because he knows the answer to that riddle is forever. So Reaper's like, yo, why'd you let him go, Redeemer? I know you've seen it in the future like I have others. They don't understand. What, is it because Jessica Priest, She-Spawn, is the traitor? No, but I know events are coming and she's at the heart of it. So Redeemer's like, okay, show me, Reaper. And he shows him a glimpse of the Scorch. Into the future, he knows the Scorch will die, but not how they will perish. Traitors aren't his concern. Reaper and the survival of his world are his only goals. And Redeemer's like, yo, man, may God have mercy on him, because this is brutal right here. So the question is, which domino is going to fall that will bring the world to its knees? And that's what the Scorch now face. Metallic giant soldiers known as Sin Devourers, and their single purpose is to wipe every living spawn off of existence, and that's what the Scorch is dealing with right now. So Sin Devourers like, okay, Encircle the targets. It's a tactic that's very old. Surround your enemy from all sides, then attack him as a swarm. She-Spawn is like, okay, everyone in battle formation. But that old tactic that the Sin Devourers are using also forces their enemies to rise and defend themselves. So they start scanning to see what the best form of attack is. Their technology is a needed part of their process, but it comes with a cost, and that cost is time. Enough time for the heroes to analyze the situation too. So while the Sin Devourers are scanning She-Spawn, Hunt, and Kilgore and Gunslinger Spawn, which they found no matches on, She-Spawn's already got a battle formation through experience what they're gonna do. So Sin Devourers, okay, terminate all except for Gunslinger, and they let out a blast and go to work. And Kurtz is like, yo, I'm going in for the kill. It's the armor. I'll kill it from the inside. And the Sin Devourer's like, don't you see what we are? We've been built to destroy each and every one of you. Though most spawns were born in hell, one of them was rejected. A spawn who itself is built of sickness and destruction. The one who has patient zero. Plague Spawn, and he emerges from behind the Sin Devourers. So Medieval Spawn sees he's like the Plague, and he goes in on his green knight horse as he goes in for the kill, because he's never forgotten. He's never forgotten what happened in the past, and he wanted this since he had to bury his family in the past. And his prize is to kill Plague Spawn. So She-Spawn asked each of her team what they need and what they were, and Medieval Spawn said it was revenge on the church, but he lied. He wanted Plague Spawn. That's why he joined the group. Now we get this flashback of the boy after he got the acid put on it. He had to be put through this torturous test to kill his brother, to kill his sibling, and inside his brother, the real Plague Spawn emerged, and he had to kill him too. And it's just a brutal, crazy, sad story right here, man. But I'm gonna get into the meat of this book when Medieval Spawn goes in. And you know, and some of the Scorched teams offered to help Medieval Spawn, but he refused their help. He doesn't want their help. He doesn't want anyone's help because the beast can best be drawn out if he faces it alone. And keep in mind that beast is Plague Spawn. His allies will need to deal with the Sin Devourers himself, as his focus is strictly upon Plague Spawn. So he charges in. He's tunnel vision on Plague Spawn, and that ass is his. At least so it seems. And so they all watch the Sin Devourers, She-Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, Hunt, momentarily engrossed by Medieval's charge. And he goes to the Sin Devourer, and Plague Spawn's looking at Medieval Spawn like, yo man, you coming at me strong, brother, with that thunder. And the Death Horde pushed its own limits to the enemy that's revealed in suffering of humans for hundreds of years. And the only motion, the only gesture the beast makes is to allow a knowing smile to cross its face. Medieval Spawn puts his blade, his sword, through the back of his head, out through its mouth, and yes, it seems to be glad at what's about to happen next. Medieval Spawn seems to have victory. But because the girl Medieval Spawn lent his cape to in Russia, Natasha, remember that from a few issues back? She had been imbued by Plague's cancerous touch. She-Spawn, Hunt, and Gunslinger, all they can do is watch in horror. But Plague released her as Medieval sword struck, so she would be the victim of the knight's death blow. Not Plague. That's a plot twist. He thought he was going after the boy in history, but in reality, he got the girl, so Plague is still out there. And she would become another innocent casualty of this unholy war. And that's where we end this issue. I like the Scorched series. It's not as good as Gunslinger Spawn or King Spawn or even Spawn comics. I personally think Scorched is trying to find its bearings here because it's not easy writing a team up, in my personal opinion. But I still enjoy the read, and I still enjoy doing this, and I still enjoy this read. This is a fun read. Do I think it's worth adding to your comic book collection? I think so. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Call me biased, but I personally dug it. I mean, link in the description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. With that being said, now I'm just going to go back and summarize previously what happened. As the battle with the Sin Devourers rages on, the history between the Medieval Spawn and the Plague is revealed to be a lot older than the team realized, exposing Medieval Spawn's true reasons for joining the team. Now, as this war is being played out, it's controlled by many competing architects. This one has mastered alchemy, and he'll subvert those that'll get in his way. He's not wanting to turn metals into gold. That would just be pointless. What he wants is transformation, turning bodies into his Sin Devourers, creatures powerful enough to destroy everything he hates. And what he hates are the spawns, the Hell Spawns. Jessica Priest, Haunt, and Gunslinger Spawn are all subjects to his torture right now. He knows his science won't replace their power of religion, but he can meld with it. Then the gods and the monsters contaminating the earth can be purged from the existence. Their exile will finally allow the human race to live their lives free from interference and their persuasions. Now we see, obviously, all three of them getting tortured, Gunslinger Spawn, Haunt, and Jessica Priest, and this Cindevour, this lab rat, or this lab hellspawn, what you want to call it, talks about commencing liquid dissection. Begin autopsy to affirm their chemical construct. Electroshocks blast into the core of the prisoners. Shocks that send Gunslinger reeling into the depths of his own mind. Imagine what he believes Spawn will do. Outlock the dead zones. Pen the demons until they were ready to obey him, exposing the Scorched members, making them human once again. And we see Gunslinger Spawn in human form, which is Javier underneath. As a human, Javier sees Spawn like the ranchers and landmen he knew from his own time. Those who always thought they were superior to everyone, who lorded over poor tenant farmers because they could. To Javier, Spawn wasn't fighting against a war. He was building his own empire. He was building his own army. And then we see this guy, this mysterious figure, looking at Gunslinger Spawn being tortured, like, look at him, searching for some sanity to hold on to. When I was a boy in church, they told us to find the light in darkness. They were wrong. I recently realized for survival, I need to embrace the light in darkness. You see, our enemy would create their cults, build armies, and force us to do their will, pitting us at war against one another. I tried warning our government. I told them to forget their partisan fighting and focus on the bigger threat. They ignored me, so I created Project K. Your government should have listened to me, Senator. And this senator, whoever this guy is, I haven't said who this guy is. This guy is obviously the senator because that's what he called him. Our oversight committees aren't built like that. They really move fast. It's not good for their careers. Monets, they didn't allocate the money to you to start a war. They allocated to you to prevent one. You think you could get rid of Spawn without a war, says this guy? Well, he abandoned his team, so why are you starting this war, says the senator. He didn't abandon anyone, says this guy. He has a strategy. He left the team to initiate that strategy. To dominate Earth, that's why I can't kill his team. We need them. We need the team to turn against Spawn. And then we go back to this panel where happened in the last issue where Medieval Spawn goes on the attack for Plague Spawn. This is where it starts. I gave Soul Crusher and Hunt a chance. I told them Spawn would turn on them. They didn't understand. But this Medieval Spawn has honor in his blood. Medieval will go to Soul Crusher and do our work for us, telling him he murdered Natasha, one of the few humans he cares about. And the others, well, we're in their heads too. And we go into, you know, Jessica Priest. She Spawn's panel where her torture goes into her mind. And the plan was always quite simple. Capture a Hellspawn, then have it scanned, identify who they might be, then create alternate memories they can exploit. Like in the team's captain, She Spawn one day should become known as Priest, but the name she wants no one to know her by, she wants no one to call her by, is Mom. And then we see Jessica Priest in Mom form. Baby, are you safe? And then they're exploiting her memory right now because she's doing this to protect her daughter. She wants no one to know that she has a kid. But now this alternate memory is telling her, especially with Jessica Priest's mom, you know, her daughter's grandma, telling her, no, my dear, Jessica will never be safe, not for a single day. Not while you live the life you chose, and your daughter and I will be targets every day, and it'll only be stopped when they murder both of us. Blood will be on your hands. And it's all Jessica Priest lives for, and the one thing she's trying to keep hidden from everyone. Now, Agent Hunt is a different specimen. The souls of two men reside in his one body, you know, him and his brother. His status is his body has been poisoned, infected by a woman named Lydia, a woman he once loved. That's his blood, until she betrayed it and they go to extract more blood. But continue draining his blood is not a Hellspawn, but his DNA be of use to us. And the Sin Devour machine, lab rat, robot, whatever, says draining his blood might kill him. If we keep extracting his blood, it might kill him. But this guy's like, that's a chance I'm willing to take. Keep going. A house Gunslinger Spawn holding up. He isn't. The dream Gunslinger is trapped in has consumed him. The buyer can't mentally have him go too far. Also, there's a buyer for this. So I thought this guy was pulling all the strings, but now there's a buyer behind all this too. Because what's happened with Gunslinger Spawn is he understands these monsters have existed in many realities and spiritual planes, and that nothing is a dream. So what they see in their head, Senator, is all but another possibility, a reality into what might their futures hold. So you might be able to see their future before it happens. That's pretty freaking crazy. So that's what it means. That's exactly what it is. And electroshocks gets churned higher, triggering the paranoid thread playing in Javier's head. That somehow Spawn is responsible, which makes him the one that must be destroyed. If he or anyone else is going to survive. So in Javier's head, Spawn is the reason for all this, and it's looking like this brother's trap of turning the Spawns against one another, or at least turning the Hell Spawns, turning them against Spawn. It might play out into fruition. But now And Javier's blinding intensity to save all manifests itself in physical form as he goes after Spawn. But he's choking on himself. And why is he choking on himself? And this brother tells is because in that reality, for the first time, he doesn't win. Do you know the trauma that causes to the human psyche? Knowing that when it matters most, when the weight of your entire existence is sitting squarely on your shoulders, you weren't good enough. And that failure is crushing. My goal is to learn from those defeats, so I won't replicate their mistakes. Gunslinger may not know how to defeat a power-mad Spawn, but I will. I'll never let another lord rule over me. Not after the way God treated me. I sacrificed my eyes and an arm for him, and he ignored me just like your fellow politicians. But now, I am the curse. Soon, everyone will feel the wrath of that word. Just like this cowboy gunslinger Spawn. See, they're looking at him, and dude, and this guy is crazy. Like, I am his salvation. I am the path to his salvation. The sooner he understands that, so the sooner his soul could be saved. If you let them live, won't they try to kill you, says the senator? I'm sure they will. They might even succeed, but not if they all have been banished to hell. They now have a choice to make. Stop me or stop Spawn. His darkness is much bigger than mine. I'm betting they'll do the right and honorable thing. And we see Medieval Spawn about to do the honorable thing. Honor is a code to Medieval has tried to live by. But the church taught him that you cannot trust every man, even men of cloth. Some souls are beyond redemption to think anyone or otherwise would be fatal. You know what I mean? And now, after a long journey, he stands at the edge of limbo. Its fortified gates, invincible to our eyes, stand tall, but he'll not be denied. He has to come to deliver a message, and he's prepared to deliver that message to Soul Crusher. But before him is the cross of eternity, the doorway he needs to enter. Events of the past 24 hours heavy in his mind as he steps forward, meaning from the last issue when he had a murdered plague Spawn, but actually it was Natasha in disguise. With that guilt, that will be weaponized against him. Soul Crusher, soul yourself! As he grows into this portal, enters in, have the courage to face me, says Medieval Spawn. The thing is, who Soul Crusher would just recently learn no longer is him. He's been in limbo for so long that he's turned into Soul Crusher, is now the king of limbo. What do you suppose that kind of loss does to a man? Being trapped in limbo for so long. And in prison, Hellish Giant holds that answer. And that's Soul Crusher because he was trapped in limbo for so long because Spawn took him there. He's killing us, all of us, for practice. Practice for what, says Medieval Spawn? Practice for you. And that's where we end this issue of The Scorched, issue number 10. Okay, look, I do like The Scorched. It is not my favorite comic, and I'm probably not going to say that for a while, but I got to read it because it's a Spawn comic. I just got to get at it. The torture scene with the She Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, and Hunt getting into their heads, mind messing with them to exploit their weakness, though, that was sick. That was pretty brutal right there, man. I'm curious to see where this is going. I don't know if this story is taking too long to come into fruition for what it is, or if it's just starting to barely come into fruition what it is. I mean, it's tough to write a team up, in my personal opinion, but at the same time, hey, I'm intrigued enough to keep going. But I think the issue is well worth it. I think the issue is worth adding to your comic book collection. I don't know if K, the Curse right here, if this is a first appearance, but if it's a key issue, add it. But don't quote me on it because that's the first time I've seen of him. But with 300 other issues of Spawn, you never know when that brother might have appeared in that other issue. But for the art's sake and for the story, I think this is worth adding to your comic book collection. But with that being said, previously on issue 10 of The Scorched, the mysterious K was revealed to be the Curse, with a new plan to destroy the forces of both heaven and hell. So this is where we pick up with this story. We see Soul Crusher going to work on this demon in limbo. As a test, Spawn abandoned Soul Crusher to limbo, wanting to know how relentless and how resourceful he was, but most importantly, how ruthless. Joining forces with Spawn can never be as easy as just pledging allegiance to the flag or to the Spawn. Anyways, you get the drift. You have to lose something. And you have to have some valuable collateral, just like Spawn lost Wanda, his wife. Soul Crusher lost Natasha. Now Soul Crusher, Sergi grew up with her. He promised to keep her safe no matter how high the stakes got. Now he's been made into a liar. Because Natasha was dead, murdered by Medieval Spawn on the battlefield when he came for the head of Plague Spawn. That's dating back into a few issues of The Scorched. I don't know what issue it is, but it's been definitely a few issues back. And her spear emerges from the water. Sergi, it wasn't supposed to end like this. It's not what we dreamed of, what we promised each other. This can't be our final destiny. It won't be, says Sergi. Tell me what happened. Plague wrapped himself around me like a cocoon. The knight wanted the plague dead. He didn't know I was Plague's host, and she shows him a visual of her getting her head decapitated by medieval Spawn, and he is enraged. I offer them my aid, and this is what they do? They murder you after Spawn traps me here? Goodbye, Sergi. And now Natasha's spirits leave. Sergi, says medieval Spawn, and he's just like in his own sorrow. My honor demands I come to admit my offense against you. I see Natasha's spirit has visited to show what happened. It's regrettable, but I must now plead that you put your grief aside. Follow me out of here and serve the promise you made when you approached us. Okay, look, medieval's trying to save his own ass, but at the same time, the mission has to be done. You come here asking for favors, says Soul Crusher. Though he feels for Sergi's loss, medieval understands that in any brutal war, some allies die unintentionally, but a true warrior must fight on. Medieval spawns about to find out what kind of warrior Soul Crusher is. Will he be a real warrior? Or, like so many before him, he'll instead let emotions dictate his fate, and he goes after medieval Spawn. Let's throw down, time to get down with the get down. Enough, says medieval Spawn. He tosses him like a rag doll into the water. What did you put in my neck? And we see something light up, and it's a bomb. Ironically, Spawn abandoning Soul Crusher in this limbo to fight untold amounts of demons taught Sergi, that's Soul Crusher's real name, how to become a better fighter, like a champion boxer. Sergi learned to take his hits, fighting weaknesses as he suckered his opponents. He had reworked the weapons on him into a bomb the size of his fingers, small enough to hide in his fist, lethal enough to kill. You took her head, I'll take yours, says Soul Crusher. These hellspawns always find a way to survive, so he knows he must strike now, as it may be his only chance for revenge, and his forearm molds into this blade, this symbiote blade. Soul Crusher's blade strikes with rage driven by his own failures for not helping Natasha and keeping them together, failures to protect other children abandoned just like him. Damn, this is pretty deep, the amount of rage this brother has. But then again, can you understand with the brother? But if he thinks this hellspawn is willing to die a dishonorable death, he's wrong. What medieval did to Natasha was tragic, but war is never determined by a single death. And medieval Spawn takes his blade and cuts off his forearm, that symbiote form that Soul Crusher's blade was on. People die, Crusher. In my part, it is unforgivable. Back off. And he punches him back to the wall. But you must learn to forgive yourself for your failures. Then you move on, because another battle, another enemy soon follows. Otherwise, everything we do is in vain. I mean, if you want to fight, then well, let's begin. Let's fight. You know, I was tricked. But before we begin this fight, I just want to let you know, we have a bigger enemy than myself. Natasha's dead. I was tricked, and though my heart aches, all I have left is to stop the monsters that put her in harm's way. So take your grief and channel it. Use it for a greater purpose. Demons crowd to see the commotion. As much as they detest mankind, they'll be damned if they'll bow to a spawn. Soul Crusher knows this, and though his injured forearm has been severed, he can still feel it and communicate to it. I owe you nothing, and I'll give you nothing, says Soul Crusher. Then get up and fight. Enough with the bullshit. Let's do this right now, right here, right now. Wallow in your self-pity. And then Soul Crusher, wait a minute, what about you? You'll just follow Simmons? There are whispers about how weak he's become. I'm not fighting for Simmons, says medieval Spawn. I'm protecting Earth, so choose what side you want to be on. Soul Crusher presses his severed forearm into the water, jolting it alive. Sergi's body had been put through the same experiments as the Russians. His body was injected with the Spawn DNA. The symbiote transforming Sergi's arm into a living weapon as he envelops around medieval Spawn. The question is Soul Crusher more of a hybrid than a man? And as this symbiote wraps around medieval Spawn, he's like, you think I have not seen this before? It's a symbiote, what do you think I'm made out of? Or maybe there's another way to hurt him. Soul Crusher goes after medieval Spawn's sword. Many have made the error that holding the knight's sword is not the same as controlling it. It knows the hand of its master and its true wielder, and any who attempt to wield it soon will find themselves slowly going insane, as Soul Crusher is just going to work on these other demons. With screams piercing Soul Crusher's every thought, he tells those voices in his head to shut up. Voices, they're calling you, aren't they, says medieval Spawn. Is this your magic trying to confuse me? It won't work. I know you're guilty of it. Then do it, says Medieval Spawn. Stop talking and do it. If you're so brave, show me. Strike me dead. Damn you, otherwise stop your hollow threats. I said, kill me, you coward. For a long moment, the two combatants stand silent. The next move will determine the future of their relationship forever. Coward, says Soul Crusher. What has your kind done? Tell me, other than slaughter innocent victims caught in the middle of a war you created. Go ahead, justify your actions. Talk yourself into thinking you're the hero. You're from hell. Where you're from, they have never been saviors. You destroy everything, lives, and property. Everything. But now Medieval Symbiote is wrapping around in Sergi's forearm where the blade was in place of. Longer than anyone has known, Medieval Spawn has tamed the dark magics. Though he rarely uses it, it drains his powers at too high a rate. Today he makes an exception. So when he sends the severed limb of Soul Crusher back to the masters, it is not an act of kindness. It is not a warrior in desperation. It is a form of communication. He speaks through the body part as it attaches itself to Soul Crusher, showing him the events that actually led to Natasha's unfortunate death, how Plague used her body, then tricked Medieval's attempt to slay him, and how all of them have been ultimately scorched. This information, these images, says Soul Crusher. What am I supposed to do with it? Use it. Let it be what drives you. We're both victims and Natasha paid the price for our actions. Let us avenge her, says Medieval Spawn. Join me. Join us. We are not your enemy. I don't know who my enemies are. Not anymore. This world, us humans, we need to rise up against all of you. None of you belong here, but I'll figure that out later. For now, take your damn sword, says Sergi. Then we'll fight side by side for now. Defend the honor of the short life Natasha lived, said Medieval Spawn. When the task is complete, you could turn whatever anger you have left back on me. Says Soul Crusher. It's tempting, but let's just find a way out of here. I'll deal with the future when it comes. So yes, I'll fight with you. I'll fight with you. After that, I can't make any promises. Fair enough, says Medieval. Now let's go hunt these bastards down. As they leave, the eyes of more than demons gaze upon them, and it's the green eyes of Spawn, the one who put both of them in limbo. Let's see if both of you are worth all this trouble, says Spawn. The real war is about to begin. And that's where we end this issue of The Scorched, issue number 11. You know, I think this book is starting to come together slowly but surely. For me personally, when I read this issue of The Scorched, I mean, I like Spawn, I really do, and I wanted to give it a chance. It felt like it took a while for it to get its bearings, but now that it's coming together, obviously this was a filler issue, but you cannot deny Soul Crusher and Medieval Spawn duking it out in limbo. That was pretty gangster, I thought. But it pushed the story forward. Now that they finally put their differences aside for now to fight the greater evil, let's get into the ribeye, the meat and potatoes of this story, and I'm looking forward to the next issue. Link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. Before we get into the issue, we're just going to sum up the previous issue real quick. The Scorched team have been captured by the curse, while Medieval Spawn travels to Limbo to earn the trust of Soul Crusher. We begin with this narration. Some monsters lay in the dark for years. They wait for you to think they're safe. They enjoy it, studying you, planning, knowing that one day they will emerge, and it will be like an assassin's bullet through your soul. Their curse is one such monster having to capture all the spawns. She Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, Hunt, all minus Medieval Spawn, Soul Crusher, and Spawn. He's watched Spawn, he's studied the Scorched. Long before all this, he was Philip Kron, a boy whose entire life would be devoted to God. And we see that boy listening to the sermon here. And that pastor is talking about there will be a point where you must return that favor to Christ who sacrificed himself. Because the Lord who comes in the end of times will not be the sweet Christ of the New Testament who took everyone in his arms. No, it'll be the Lord of the Old Testament, the one bringing fire and brimstone. Why when he said brimstone, I thought of brimstone from King Spawn in the last issue. And he continues with the sermon, the one with vengeance, the one demanding your servitude. So the only question is, do you want your neck against his sword, or do you want to be with the rest of his army behind it, victorious? And the question was how that young Philip kept asking himself for months as his obsession grew. How can God see this boy's willingness to go to war for him? And he says in his room, forgive me, Lord, for my sins. now that I'll walk with you as my guide. God doesn't bless those who find an easy way to him. God blesses those that submit and suffer, and he submits to that suffering by injecting his eye, both of his eyes, with that needle. And with that, Philip died and the curse was born. He explains that his eyes were given to the priest as a gift, a show of his faith. Within a year, the whole congregation went from thinking he was disturbed to believing in his purpose, because he could see the Hellspawn's kind, the darkness in the world. He saw how they maneuvered and planned, and he saw that they got more arrogant. But you went public like Simmons. That's when I started praying again, says the curse. Studying the path, Christian magic, the verses. I also studied you guys and how you could lose. The secret was Simmons, the same man who took my arm in the battle years ago. His cockiness is now yours, and I'm gonna take everything from you guys. Meanwhile, in Limbo, Soul Crusher was facing his own crisis of faith as we see Medieval Spawn going ham, slicing and dicing. We must get to the exorcist, Medieval Spawn. We must put aside our differences and save the Scorched. And keep in mind, in the previous issue, Medieval Spawn murdered Soul Crusher's friend Natasha from the previous issue, thinking she was Plague Spawn. You can see the previous issues for that. It was covered in detail. And by the way, if you're just joining this channel for the first time, like the video, subscribe to this channel for more comic book reviews and comic book content like this. We also do an occasional comic book giveaway as well. But with all that being said, let's get back into the content. The portal closes. Soul Crusher exits and asks what's next, and Medieval Spawn's like, we have to travel to the Curse's base and we go to war. And Soul Crusher's like, will we get there in time? I don't think we'll get there in time. And Medieval's like, yo man, I've already taken care of that. And by that, he has the Uber ride of dragon Medieval style, you know? And Soul Crusher's like, of course you're a freaking dragon. Look man, there'll be time to explain all this later. Let's go, let's ride. And it ain't the kind of riding that Russell Wilson's doing right now with the Denver Broncos. It's a different kind of ride. The ride where Dubs and that ass is gonna get kicked. Meanwhile, in the lab, the curse has the scientists open the deprivation chambers, freeing the Scorched from the nightmares he chained them to. A suggestion that seems mad. And the scientist is like, what the hell is he doing? Why'd he let him go? And the other scientist is like, it's just the last test. Are you sure you were safe behind these walls? And Soul Crusher goes on, they think I'm insane, but I have my faith. My army is going to burn you and your kind to the ground when you fall. And Soul Crusher continues, let's see what's more powerful, your darkness or my faith. Or you could just give up your daughter now, Jessica. Just mind messing with her. You'll never touch her, says She Spawn. Is that right, says Soul Crusher. My father said the same thing right before I killed my mother. And Soul Crusher continues. Families are fake. We're born into them and then feel like we owe them something. But God, we come to. God is a choice. He led me to you to draw you into a fight you can't win, says Soul Crusher. A gunslinger takes out his gat. You talk a lot, says Gunslinger. And one of the Sin Devourers like, attack, defender, creature, haunt, motion detected. You know, automation, you know, protocol kicking in. You're all weak. All of you, says Soul Crusher. He's been prepared for this. And Gunslinger's like, nah, bro, I want some more. I thought you wanted a test. Your confidence is still human, says Soul Crusher. And yet, you're a monster. Let him up, says Soul Crusher. And Sin Devourer has no choice but to release Gunslinger Spawn. You want to go back in time, cowboy? Is that it? Trying to fix the things you broke? Heal the people you hurt? Sorry, that's not gonna happen. Curse mocks him. That and pity are not things that sit well with Gunslinger Spawn. You talk too much and you know too much, says Gunslinger Spawn. Sidestepping the attack and proud of himself, he doesn't realize Gunslinger was trying to get behind him where the blade catches his throat, a blow that would end most humans instantly. He knows he needs to stop the bleeding or he's dead. All he has are his electrical wires from his Sin Devourers. He burns them to the wound and hopes they'll be enough. How's that faith holding up, says Gunslinger Spawn. Hey yo, I love that clap back right there. Though the onslaught is far from over. Devourer steps in and unleashes his flame, toasting Gunslinger Spawn. Yo, that is a Spawn burnt, well done right there. Creature Gunslinger Spawn neutralized, says Sin Devourer. In Curse's mind, needing reinforcements is a loss, but he puts his pride away. Pride is what he sees as the failings of those Hellspawns. He must be better than them. Besides, he likes seeing the anguish on their faces as their hope for victory slips away. And they're about to lose and they know it. And he lets out another piece of dollar, just rubbing it in their face like alcohol on the wound, just about to be defeated. Let me tell you a story about a man named Al. He loses his wife and battles his way through heaven and hell. Years later, he sees an opportunity to use everyone he knows to get this woman back. But he'll have to open the gates to demons and angels so he can get what he wants. And he's talking about the dead zones, and he did do that in King Spawn, in which we did cover that issue too. It's why he needed to build an army of pawns. He needed you as pawns to sacrifice. Enough of this, says Jessica Priest. She's had enough of this. I'm speaking, says the curse. You're demons. I will bring you to heal. And he slams her down. Submit. Stay down. And don't you dare get back up, or as that ass is going to be glued to the ground. You're also soldiers. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use you guys. And he blasts away Hunt. Hunt believes he's about to unleash a sneak attack behind the curse, but that's not going to happen as the curse blasts him away. And the lab rats are like, I'm amazed. All this research, it works. He can beat them. And if he can beat them, he can control them. He'll make them Jesus, and he'll be their god. I mean, that's kind of like what the fill in the sentence or fill in the blank is talking about, right? But Medieval Spawn always had a plan, one that even Curse couldn't have predicted. Curse trembles, for as much as he studied these monsters, he never prepared for this, as Medieval Spawn and Soul Crusher ambush and infiltrate in the scene, and they're ready to come in. They come in hungry, all with that smoke. Take out the machine, says Soul Crusher, and he blasts them away, and Medieval Spawn is just slashing and dashing away. With the arrival of Medieval Spawn and Soul Crusher, their victory is swift, vicious, and undeniable. That ass is mine. Tell your mama to save me a plate. Well, she technically can't do that because he did kill his own mother. That's just, come on now, you know we hungry.
Like I said, we hungry.
After that victory, Gunslinger Spawn looks at the curse. He's like, yo, man, I'm going to kill that guy right now. And Medieval Spawn's like, no, wait, he has intel. We need that intel first, then we'll kill him. The curse is defeated. His sin devourer is nothing but broken toys. His funding and government support are fleeing that very minute. They're done. You've been abandoned, says She Spawn. And they all look at him, and they all circle him like, yo, you gonna answer some questions before we decide to let you go. And he's like, huh, I haven't been abandoned, not by my lord, says the curse. So who do you all bow to? The insinuation is clear. Spawn put this team together. He wasn't one to be their general. Yet 1 year later, they're battered and beaten with little direction, something that needs to be changed. And Spawn appears silently out of the shadows. They answer to me. And you know this storyline takes place after King Spawn events. I mean, I love how all these storylines are in parallel, but that is the end of this issue of The Scorched, issue number 12. You know what? I just love the ending of this, and I don't know if this is the end of the story arc, but I love to see where this is continuing to go. Just the fact that these Hell Spawns, minus Spawn, Medieval Spawn, and Soul Crusher were all captured by the curse. I mean, it leaves one to, there's got to be a lot more story where this came from and who is the bigger puppet pulling his strings, and I'm loving where this story is going to go. Link in the description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. With all that being said, The Scorched, issue number 12. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy, don't be stingy. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Also, don't forget to check out our website, RatedComics.com, for some amazing comic books and really cool Rated Comics exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Last but not least, this review is sponsored by coffee, so if you'd like to buy your boy a cup of coffee, link in description. But the greatest compliment you guys can do is by liking the video and subscribing to this channel. Thank you again for watching. Until next time.